Today's story is from Nikki Mason and Joshua Berlingeri. They have experienced the public health dangers and economic consequences of COVID-19. She's a nurse treating coronavirus patients. He's a technician at a sign company that was initially furloughed for 2 weeks when business disappeared. Joshua has a 10-year-old son with his first wife. He and Nikki have a 2.5-year-old boy.
Hi, my name is Nikki Mason. We live in Miramar on the border of Pembroke Pines in Florida, and I work as a registered nurse at one of the local hospitals in Fort Lauderdale. I'm 32.
I'm Josh Berlingeri. I'm currently 34 years old, and I'm the head lead installer tech at a sign company.
We have a son together, and I guess we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We'll get married at some point. I normally work with stroke patients, patients with congestive heart failure. That floor is now the COVID floor. I work 3 days a week in 13-hour shifts. I treat COVID patients all the time. Yesterday I was on the COVID floor, so I'm direct in the front line with known positive COVID patients.
It's scary.
For who?
No, it is, but I mean, she takes full precautions. 2 masks, full gowns up. When she gets home, she has, puts her clothes right in the washing machine, ready to take a shower. I'm not worried though, because she knows what she's doing.
When I get to work, if I'm working on a COVID floor, I immediately prepare myself. So I have the N95 that I wear constantly with the surgical mask over that just to protect the N95. I also have my hair cap, and then we have a face shield that we wear as well. So I have those on at all times while I'm working. Then when I go into the rooms, we also have the gowns that we put on, as well as gloves, obviously. And many times I use 2 gloves or even 3 gloves, especially if I'm going to be around, changing the patient, and things like that, where, bodily fluids can come into the factor. And so we just take extra precautions there. I have a change of clothes that I bring with me. I leave it in my car, and I go and get it after work, and I bring it back in, and I change my clothes, put my work clothes back into that bag, which I come home. I also have Lysol mixed with water. I also have a little spray bottle that has rubbing alcohol with just a little bit of essential oils just to keep it smelling better. I spray down my car when I get out of it. I spray down my shoes before I even walk into the door. So I'll have Josh open the garage door for me, and I come in that way. I leave my bag and my shoes and everything, which I spray down again. And then I immediately go upstairs and take a shower, and then all of those clothes that I've been wearing go right into the wash separately from anything else, and those get cleaned. So it's a lot, it's extra, but it's important. On March 16th, it was a Monday, I had a patient. I had spent the whole day with him. Back at this time, they were conserving all of the PPEs. We were waiting for, everything to happen. So we were asked not to wear masks. I actually remember him coughing on my arm and thinking to myself, well, at least he doesn't have COVID. And then the next morning, March 17th, I go to check his vitals, and he has a fever. His heart rate is going up. His blood pressure is coming down. He's visibly having respiratory issues. This gentleman was from a facility that was known around here to have patients positive for COVID. So the patient was moved to the floor, and back in March, this was when we would do the COVID test, but it would take, 3 days or so to come back. So I spent the rest of that Tuesday at work, and then I had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off. And Friday afternoon, I was preparing my lunch for the weekend, and one of the doctors at my work calls me and informs me that patient had come back positive, and for the safety of everybody else, that I had to stay quarantined for 14 days.
I was at work. I was at the shop doing a huge install, getting ready for the hard rock. And she called me and told me, And I was like, what? Like, are you serious? And she's like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, he came back positive for COVID, and I'm in the house on quarantine.
It was very emotional at first. I know that Wednesday I had a really hard time with it. Josh was actually still working, and I was home by myself. The baby was in daycare. I had a breakdown, and I just was physically ill from being so emotionally, just terrified of what might happen, that this patient had it, that I may have gotten it, that getting my family sick, my kids sick. So it was pretty rough.
What if she does have it? How are we going to deal with this? With the baby and with Riley, our oldest. Like, how are our plans going to change? How are the living arrangements going to be like? It was definitely rough at first until we found out she came back negative, which was great.
I was very blessed. I got very, very lucky. It came back negative, and then I went back to work on the 15th day after that. Finances, luckily, have not been an issue on my end.
It affected our shop big time.
He was out of work for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He had a rough time with it at first. He likes to be financially, do his part of this, and I think that's what scared him the most was that he wouldn't. We had to sit down and have conversation about, hey, we have money in savings. We're going to be fine. Let's not stress it. There's enough to stress about. Don't stress it. I can take on the half of that, that you normally take on.
Well, I definitely built a lot of stuff on my time off. That's for sure. I built Jaden, our little baby. I built him like 2 high stool chairs, like he washed his hands. I built an outdoor table. I built Nikki a brand new spice rack. Just trying to stay busy with everything. I actually just went back this past week.
Oh, it's a lot off my shoulders. It's nice because we split the finances pretty much, down the middle, and now I don't have to be as concerned about how much more I'm going to have to be, paying towards rent, and it's good all around to have him back to work. We have, separate accounts right now, because we're separate, and we'll probably keep that up even when we're married. But we split the bills pretty evenly. So instead of like this bill that you pay half, I pay half. We kind of he's in charge of the rent, the electricity, and the water. And I do all the grocery shopping. I pay for the Jaden's daycare. I pay for cable. I pay for the internet. So we have it kind of separated, and then I pay my phone bill, he pays his, same with car insurance and things like that are separate things. So that's kind of how we
it balances out pretty good.
Yeah. We moved into here in April 2019. And we were kind of hoping then that this would be our last time leasing. We did end up signing another lease for another year. Josh has some credit issues that we need to work out. I finally got my credit back to where it needs to be after being young and stupid. So, it's just little things like that of getting everything in order so that we can get the best deal when we do go to buy a house. So we're hoping that, by next year at this time, we'll be talking to you from a house we own.
We're going to go live to Governor Ron DeSantis, who is his press conference.
Including the very important I-4 Ultimate project. I wanted to ensure that we maximize construction efforts to support Florida's economy and ensure that Florida was able to reopen stronger than before.
The lights still sparkle in Tehran. Sanctions be damned. Nobody here chants death to America. Rather, the design is from California, the clientele from Iran's worldly elite.
Most of the Iranian people, they travel. They used to travel to America. Now with the sanctions, I'm not sure, but they are fed up with the politics, yes, but with Americans, no.
Take away the headscarves, add a few real cocktails, and you could be in Europe.
People look up to Americans, they like Americans, and Iranians always try to recreate like American, like food, I don't think they hate Americans at all.
What's going to happen in the next 15 years? We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow because every day it's something new.
Here, you can't help but think Iran and America's people ought to get to know each other a little better. Don't tell that to both their leaders. Their decades of animosity on display in the ghoulish remains of the U.S. Embassy.
U.S. Embassy personnel.
American diplomats were held hostage by Iran here and coups plotted by the CIA. The museum filling this top-secret spy room with dummies.
Yep, thank you. Just 1 second. Now, the Trump administration is really doing all that it can to try and drag the image of the United States here in Iran back decades to a time of espionage, subterfuge, when the United States was doing, again, all it possibly could to undermine or change the Iranian government. President Barack Obama, well, he saw that in the age of the iPhone, there was an opportunity to improve Iran's economy and persuade its people that its future lay with the outside world.
It's been better way back when, too. Jim and Gladys Strain from Riverdale, New York, first came here for their honeymoon in the 50s. The love affair is still going.
People are wonderful. They're friendly, they're welcoming. They offered us roses at the airport. I mean, lovely.
We're disgusted with our president. Our president is misbehaving.
Across town in southern Tehran is the Iran that gets up early, whose day begins long before the sun's heat. There is far less money here, but still articulate views on how the White House messes with their lives. I don't have a deep understanding, he says, but the US don't act justly. We don't count in Mr. Trump's eyes. He has problems with the government, but what's my sin? The poor, the clerics who guide Iran, the young conscripts in an army whose regional grip has expanded. When we chant death to America, he says, it's the government of America. The people are respectable, and we have no problem with them. I haven't fought in Iraq or Syria, but if our military hadn't gone there, we'd be fighting ISIS on the streets of Iran's cities. Sanctions are already felt here. They mean less animals are slaughtered, each delivery, each lamb less profitable. I've got things to do, he says. I don't have time to chant death to America. Yet not all rising prices, like a 40% jump in housing costs they complain of here, are blamed on America. It's got nothing to do with the USA, this man says, with the government translator present. They don't provide me with my bread. They're not here. He added, the protests, like Iran has sporadically seen this year, were futile. Yet the ebb and flow of Washington and Iran's enmity make daily choices here harder. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Tehran.